Debbie, ready to go. Thank you.
Yep, go ahead.
All right, everybody. Thank you for being here. I'll kick us off. I have a few comments for you all, but there's a lot more experience probably on the board than even I can provide. So I'm going to provide you all with some unsolicited advice. I'll help you organize on your way. I'll be out of you here. You all can do your thing. So I wanted to say I appreciate you all for being here in the volunteer role that you're in. You all play a very important role in Bridgewater. You will set how government works moving forward and make those recommendations to the council. So that's extremely important. And I think that the separation of this committee from the town council was probably designed with that purpose. And I think, I'm excited to see what you all do. I know you all have some length of experience working in Bridgewater or working with our town government. And so I appreciate that. And I appreciate the input that you'll provide. So let me give you some unsolicited advice and then we'll organize and I'll be very quick. I'm usually not one to drag on, but I did want to tell you all that I think it's important that you continue to listen to residents, right? So just listen to those who attend meetings, who reach out directly to you all, whether that's here at the meetings, in town, during town council meetings. I think their input matters. And I say this to my fellow councilors all the time. You'll probably talk to less than 1% of our town population. So also keep that in mind. There are 28,000 people in this town, and you all are trying to work with a government that represents all of them. So while their words are very important, try to keep in mind that big picture or stay big picture as you're thinking about how government works. Second, I'll say always focus on what's best for Bridgewater, right? Not one person, not one business, and certainly not ourselves. I think that's always important to put out there and put first. So put personal interests aside and making decisions again, what's going to be the best path forward for our town. Third, I would say read everything carefully. Probably can't read enough. I would say watch prior meetings and not just town council meetings. Look for other boards and committees, and I would say skim through some of those so you get a feel for what they're doing and how they operate, because they will play into the town charter itself too. And then fourth, I would say do your homework, right? So if it would be helpful, I don't know how it's worked in the past, but if there are people to interview, if you're requesting special documents, ask thoughtful questions, make sure that you're fully prepared to be able to answer the questions that you need to answer. And if I can be a conduit and all of that and helping you get to the right spot, I'm happy to do so. But again, I'm only one small piece of this. And then fifth, I'll say speak up, right? I think the debates and sharing your opinions is the most important here. So don't feel like you need to be quiet. I think there are some people in the room that I know won't be. And so I think being able to speak up and feel comfortable speaking up may take some time, but please do so because it's important. You're one of the 28,000 people that are going to represent this government. So please make sure your opinion's out there. And then I'll say finally, our town staff right now is on reduced hours, if you haven't heard. And so Debbie's here with us tonight. I don't know what that looks like going forward, Debbie. And I don't know what whether you all will meet in person or Zoom or how often you all will work that out. But I'll help you or guide you through that process and I'll work with Debbie, but I just don't know what that looks like in terms of being available to you all. But again, we'll work through that together. So that's all I have. But again, thank you for stepping up and I look forward to seeing you all and how this community works through the town shop. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so we'll go on to organizing the charter review committee. So what we'll do is I'll take nominations for a chair. We'll put all the nominations out there and then we'll go through the nominations and vote on them one by one, if that works. And then you all take it from there once that chair is elected. It's a majority vote. And so
I do have one question.
Yes, sir.
Who's taking minutes?
Debbie's taking minutes
Just
today.
tonight, or should we do it?
Just tonight. We'll have to work with what that looks like going forward. May have to do it in-house here.
Because last time Josh did all the minutes for us. I don't know if he's still in that role or not. But
Yeah, he's in the role, but he's also reduced hours.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I can talk to them after the meeting of different options of that we can, I can do. So I'll talk to them afterwards. Whoever is the chair.
Yeah, that works.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. All right, so I will take a nomination for Charter Review Committee Chair.
I'd like to nominate Scott Pettit as chair.
Scott, nominated. Anybody else?
I'd like to nominate Ed because he has the most experience.
Ed has been nominated. Anybody else? Scott, Ed? All right.
Anybody else want it?
We have to be-
Oh, you need seconds on both of them.
Okay, so I have a nomination for Scott. I'll take a second.
I'll second.
Lindsay, a second. I have a nomination for Ed. Take a second.
I'll second.
James, a
Yeah,
second.
what if I don't want it?
Yeah. Make sure your attention's clear. Voting.
I really feel that since I've been the chair twice already, that I don't want to be it again. So I have to withdraw that.
Okay.
That's okay.
Okay. Well, you have to withdraw.
Sorry, but thank you.
According to Robert's rules.
Doesn't want it.
We'll take a vote for Scott first, and then if you like.
Anybody else want it? Does Scott not want it? I'll do it because I've got the experience. I know I've got the experience to do it, so I'm willing to do it.
All right, so we'll take a majority vote for Scott Pitta for chair of the Charter Review Committee. And we'll just do a hand raise. Say all in favor.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none. Scott, that's a majority.
Right.
Like to withdraw your motion first? Just
Oh, I
make it
already did
official.
that. I don't withdraw it again.
Thank you. Okay, Scott, congratulations. Happy to hand over one more thing.
Yes. All right. Well, going from there, I think we should have a vice chair and a secretary. What are the thoughts from the group? It's always good to have someone to fill in if I'm not able to be here. And then secretary, someone who can kind of compile the meeting minutes if needed. You know, we have Deborah now, but we don't know what that's going to look like going forward.
I think it makes sense. So,
Yeah,
so
I agree.
guys, bullet, his bullet points, and sure.
Should we talk a little bit for those of us who are newer, like just general responsibilities for those roles? Just curious what.
Sure. Yeah, a vice chair basically just fills in for the chair when the chair's not here. That's pretty much the extent of it. Kind of like vice president. Somebody takes me out, then. And then secretary, they'd be responsible for making sure the meeting minutes are completed, whether that's done through a town employee or I don't know if we can use some sort of transcription service on Zoom or what we're allowed to do. We'll figure that out. But just making sure that those are done so that we come in here, we can look at them and say, okay, we're going to approve the meeting minutes from the previous meeting. So, and those are important because that's the record of what we did. 10 years from now, when somebody's looking at what we did, they can go,
I was here just.
so,
Do we nominate?
you want to start with vice chair?
Can I nominate Eric?
You absolutely can.
You can.
I'll second that. Any other nominations? Anybody else want it?
Well, I'll do secretary. I'll nominate myself as secretary.
I'll second that.
All right. We'll stay with vice chair, and so we have a motion for Eric for vice chair. And so, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I guess I can.
All right, it's unanimous.
Thank you.
Secretary.
And then I'll nominate myself for secretary.
Then I'll second that again.
All right, so we have a motion and a second for Brad to be secretary. All right, anybody else interested in the position of secretary? No. A lot of people taking one step back. All right, well, I'm assuming we have unanimous consent to pass that motion. So are there any objections to Brad being secretary? Seeing none, passes by unanimous consent.
Congrats, guys.
Brad's got the hard one. He's got to do all the making sure everything's in line stuff.
Maybe I should have asked if you.
All right. So I guess opening this up, I've got to find it. Is the agenda in here?
Yeah, that's right.
Well, you have me one too. Thank you.
So everybody else got it? And you got it?
You, I figured you would.
I think I printed out the wrong meeting for you.
Looks right.
We'll figure it out.
Okay, sorry.
We're allowed to make mistakes on the first one here. All right, so organization of the Charter Review Committee, we just did that. Which takes us to D, next steps.
I had public comment. Is that the wrong one, Deb?
Ed has the right. Yeah, she did the right.
Okay. I remember seeing public comments. on one of
Permanent
those.
meetings in the wrong spot. Did I
What
print
was
out the
that?
wrong one for you?
All right, so we'll just we'll go to public comment right now. Any members of the public who wish to speak?
Deb, do you see anyone on Zoom?
There's a few people, they just need to raise their hand.
We can't see that from here. We just see the,
There's 4 people on, but I don't think, no one's raising their hand, so I don't think anybody wants to speak.
okay. All right, no public comments. Which then takes us into, Ed, since you have the correct agenda, next steps.
Steps, yeah.
All right, so next steps. Now, this is my idea, and I'd like to get some discussion on it, but I think we need to establish a threshold question of, are we going to continue with this form of government, or is there another form of government that we want to recommend? Because that will change how we operate, whether we're reviewing this charter or scrapping it and starting over. I think before we get there, we need to do a lot of listening. I think we need to schedule some listening sessions, really get the word out there. I know it's tough getting people to pay attention, but that's what I propose that we do. I move that we schedule initially at least 3 listening, possibly 4 listening sessions, and try to schedule them in such a way that we allow everyone who wants to participate to participate. Have one session, maybe midweek, midday, another session midweek in the evening, and kind of mix them up like that, keeping in mind that there are folks that work in the city and they're getting out of work at 5:30, 6 o'clock. They're not back in the town until 7 or 8 o'clock.
Scott, can I make a suggestion? I agree with what you're saying. I think we need to take a step back. And I think we need to develop a plan for what we want to accomplish over the whole year. And part of that plan obviously includes gathering data from employees, from citizens, from, however we want to do it. And I'm not sure if it's worth me going through what the prior committee did. I don't want to taint this group, but I think we had a good plan, and I think what we did was very organized and structured. So it might be, rather than reinventing from a clean sheet of paper, I could go through what we had done, spend a few minutes talking about that, and either trash it or take some of the good things that we did and come up with some additional things or whatever. But, I think the first couple of meetings are really going to be about strategizing how, the what, the how, and then when. We got to answer those 3 questions. So that's my feedback.
I think that's sort of the basis of what I was trying to get, is that whether we're listening to the citizens or the employees or the management of the town, we need to get that input to figure out where we go.
And what is our mission?
Right.
I mean, our mission will include, do we want to stay with this form of government or not? But it also includes updating charter,
Right.
and maybe there's some other things, but yeah.
I actually, how do we talk? Or should we just
Generally,
talk?
it is just, kind of raise your hand when the chair recognizes and.
I
So,
would
yeah.
raise my hand. I really like what you said, because I agree that's the key question here. And I do think it's really important for all of us to listen to citizens. And I also think that there's been a lot of input in various forms and settings. And, we have a very talented group here. I do think we have to go to the basics, to what the overall strategy is going to be. Yeah, like I heard from another former charter committee member that the committee went through line by line, including correcting punctuation. And my thought was, I don't care about the punctuation unless it creates a different legal meaning. What I care about is that this form of government, or whatever form we choose as citizens, is serving the citizens of Bridgewater. And it is working for the citizens of Bridgewater. And I think that's the key. The other thing that I am concerned about, because I've seen some of the comments online, is that people understand what we're doing. Like, they need to understand that this team is reviewing the charter, not the administrative town code, but the charter. So it's the strategic aspect of how the town is run. It's not the day-to-day, how many hours somebody works, or where they can park, or any of those things. That is a different form. This form, and that's the one thing I wanted to get across tonight for you two, is that is what this is. Are we all in agreement that that's what this is? Because if I'm wrong, tell me.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right.
So
I agree with. I do want to get to Ed to hear more about what the prior charter review committees have done. But I think you bring up a really good point. The way the charter is physically situated on the website right now, it leads itself to confusing the citizens that the charter and the admin code are the same thing,
yes.
and they are not. The town charter is the constitution of the town. It's what allows the town government to exist. It is a charter from the state to the town saying, here's how you are allowed to operate your government. The municipal code are the ordinances and bylaws. They're essentially the statutes that our legislative body enacts under the charter. The charter lays out how that happens. So there's a hierarchy. And the charter comes from a special law from the legislature. Passes through Beacon Hill, governor signs it. It is a state law. And because it's a special law, it is allowed to contradict general laws. So if you have a special law, they are very specific. And if there's a general law that says something else, you go with the special law. So,
Yeah, I mean, the only clarification is the charter cannot conflict with state statute. So if our charter references MGL a bunch of times, so not unique cases, but
yeah.
we are self-governing, but there are certain laws that we follow.
Yeah.
At the state level as well.
Yeah, and none of it can violate the state constitution.
Can I make a simple comment from people of Bridgewater, which is in that administrative town code, that big document you see?
It's called the town code.
Yeah.
That's what they call it.
This is part 1, town charter part. It ends at page 44. And then the rest of it is the admin code. And that is not being reviewed by this committee.
If you have a problem with those parts, talk to him.
I have a question. How is that one part reviewed? Is that you?
That is
Yeah.
entirely the legislation, the legislative body of the town.
Okay. And is that have any regular review period, or is it just as different parts come up?
Are you okay with me weighing in? I don't want to take over.
No, by
I don't
all
want to be
means.
sure
Yeah.
to disrupt either.
No, this. I think we can suspend the rules and allow you.
The admin code is something that we're able to make changes and update regularly. And so I've made several admin code changes myself, put those forward in an ordinance, whatever it may be. Town council votes on it, majority vote, and that changes it almost immediately.
Okay.
There's the charter recommendations, obviously they go forth, and I don't know if we've discussed this, but when the change occurs by the town council, that then goes up to the state level, is reviewed at the state house. Ultimately, the decision's made up there that yes, this is okay to move forward, comes back to our town council, and then it goes on a ballot for all voters to vote on it before a change could be made.
Okay.
So it's a longer process, could be years in the making. But it requires a full vote of the citizens, where the town admin vote or the admin vote can just be updated by the town council itself.
So do you update parts Is that what happens?
We have updated parts. of it, Yes. Yep.
All right, so the whole thing isn't reviewed at the same time.
Not in
possible.
formality like this.
I think
Really
last time it was reviewed in its entirety was when current code as it's structured now was created.
Probably.
Because before that, the town council was operating off of the old bylaws from the Board of Selectmen. And we had to go back and try to compile those, and there were not really good records of what the town bylaws were. There were some things would get passed, and in the early days of the council, we passed bylaws, and then they're not in this code. They went to the wind. So,
Don't admit that.
but it really was, the record keeping just wasn't there. So
I would make a recommendation that at our first meeting, the goal of that meeting should be to come up with a plan. So maybe tonight we just kind of talk in general about a few things or whatever, but decide how we're going to meet, when we're going to meet, and then put together some, action items to address at those meetings.
I'd like to see us schedule the next few meetings tonight, or have like a set schedule tonight.
I also thought this might be helpful. I put together a one-page thing on how we got to where we are today. Kind of lists when we changed the form of government, kind of lists everything that happened. If you want us to take a couple of minutes, just kind of review that and bring everybody up to speed.
Can we also get a copy?
Oh, yeah, I make copies for everybody.
Okay, cool.
So I figured rather than just kind of fill time, there might be some value in doing it.
Thank you.
You mind if I
don't mind at all.
Okay. So this basically just talks about how we got to where we are today. Prior to 2008, we were under the open town meeting form of government for the Board of Selectmen. And in February of that year, the Board of Selectmen decided to form a study group to basically assess town government. And that was to look at all aspects of town government, how it was running, what the issues were, everything. Just we pretty much carte blanche, look at everything about our government. So in March, they formed this group, a 7-member group called the Town Government Study Committee, which I was a part of, and I got elected to be the chair of that. And we were basically given a year to do that assessment. Now, it took us from March of 2008 to May. We actually went 14 months, and we completed a study, which was presented. The findings of that study were presented at a town meeting. And then in May, the Board of Selectmen said, okay, well, we've got all these findings. Now, what do we want to do about it? How do we want to implement some of these? So they extended the Town Government Study Group to then work on developing a chart, because we did not have a chart before that. We were strictly operating under state law. So we started in May of 2009, and we went until December. We developed actually 2 charters, because one charter was based on the new form of government that we were recommending, which is what we have today, council manager. The other charter was based on keeping open town meeting with some changes to it. For example, going from a town administrator, which we had at the time, to a town manager. So in December of 2009, there was a special town meeting to approve the recommendations. The recommendations were approved with some amendments. I think there were about a dozen amendments that were raised from the floor at open town meeting, and those amendments were applied. And there were 3 options that were decided at that meeting to provide to voters. And one option was to change to council manager, which is what the Town Government Study Committee recommended. The next option was to keep open town meeting with a Board of Selectmen, but with changes. One of those was to add a town manager. And then the last option was to just continue as is, no changes. So town meeting voted to accept those 3 options. And from there, ballot questions, we worked with our town attorney at the time, who was Mark Gilday, and we came up with ballot questions, which were then sent to the legislature in January. And in record time, it only took 3 months, 3 months to get those two charters back from the legislature. And I think the reason it happened was we had David Flynn, who was our representative at the time, and he pushed like heck to get that through. And then our senator, who was who's the guy from Taunton, Mark Pacheco, I think, yeah. He helped get it through. So in record time, we get the charters back in March, and then in April 2010, we had our town election, and the option one passed by 53% of the vote. So it wasn't a landslide by any means; it was fairly close, but 53% of the vote of the citizens voted to change the form of government. Then in September, we had a special election to form the first town council. And that 9-member council was elected then. And their job from September to December was to organize themselves, to define their rules and procedures, how they're going to operate, what their priorities were going to be. Because in January, that's when the new form of government started, in January of 2011. And that's when the council became active. So since that time, we've been under this form of government. So that's a high level kind of review of what happened. Just at the bottom there, the Charter Review Committee. So the charter requires every 6 years for this group to be formed to review the charter. Now, in 2014, which was only 3 years after the charter was activated, the first council decided that they needed to look at it sooner than 6 years. So in 3 years, they formed the first Charter Review Committee. There were a bunch of things that we had learned in that first 3 years that they wanted to change. There were some changes that were made, and then those were put to bed. And then here we are in 2020, 6 years after that was when the second CRC started, and that's the one that I was part of with Scott. And those recommendations were delivered in June of 2021. So here we are 6 years later, forming the third CRC.
Any questions for Ed? Here's a general.
Just appreciate you writing all that up.
Yes.
Yeah, it was all a little history.
I got to kind of review it a little myself too. You know, it was a while ago.
That's very helpful to understand the history of it. I think for many of a few people around the table, this, timeline predates our residency in Bridgewater, so it's helpful to kind of give a background on it.
Yeah, and I mean, I have all the stuff that we use that we could even at some point review the presentation that was made at town meeting, talked about the pros and cons of each form of government. If that would be helpful, we can look at that anytime. I have everything that you guys want to look at, so.
Yeah.
I do think it would be really valuable to learn too, just like lessons learned from past, and especially if there were changes that were made, we don't want to accidentally revert, right? Just by understanding what the rationale was.
And you're actually kind of hinting at one of the thoughts that I had for changes to the charter was do it like the US Constitution, make amendments so you can see what the prior work was. Because right now we've made changes to the charter a couple of times. If you don't have those original charters, you don't know what changed. You don't know why.
That's true.
Right.
It's important to see some of the original language that didn't work. So,
And that some of the recommendations from 6 years ago are just being, looked at now. In fact, we voted on 2 of them in April. One of them passed, one of them didn't. And now there's 2 new ones that just came back recently that need some minor tweaking, and then they're going to go back. One is term limits for the counselors, and the other is the recall provision, because we don't have a recall. So those 2 will come back and be put on the ballot at some point, maybe either a special election or for next year. One thing I do want to make a comment on is that not every charter change has to go before the citizens. It's really the council that makes that decision. So if you send something up to the legislature that doesn't require it to go to the citizens, when it comes back from the governor signed, it's law. It goes in automatically, it doesn't need to go. So it's the council that makes that decision.
What is the one that passed? Which one didn't pass?
So the one that didn't pass was the stipend. That was more of a timing issue, I think. And maybe it comes back at some point. Who knows?
There were 3, right?
The other, no, well, it's the second charter, the charter committee recommendation was the backfilling the town manager. Temporary absence. So that one passed. The third one was a Council Perry, came up with that one.
Ad hoc committee.
Ad hoc committees, yes, yes, yeah, and passed.
Yeah, I always had a little reservation about the idea of certain charter amendments don't have to go before the voters.
So it's my first time hearing
I
that.
actually didn't know that.
That I'm not entirely, I've heard the legal opinion. I'm not sure I agree with that legal opinion, which I know, shocking. There's an inside joke there if you follow the town council meetings. But in my view, when you vote on legislation, the people of Bridgewater voted on this charter. They voted on the entire charter as it stands. And if you change a comma, like you said, it can change the meaning of a sentence. And that might be enough to lose the consent of the government. So in my view, and I know we took a different view with the last charter review committee, but my opinion has evolved on that. I don't think there is such a thing as a minor change. I think the charter needs to pass as a whole. But that's my opinion, and I'm open to debate.
We can see what happens.
Yes, you know, it's, believe me, I've been wrong about things. You know, I'm married. My wife will tell you every single time. So, all right. So Ed, you went over this here. I know last time we did this, the first thing we did is we had to establish which route are we going. Are we going with another council manager form of government? Are we going potentially a mayor, full city type of government, or open town meeting, board of selectmen, representative town meeting? There are different forms of government. I think it's really early for us to make that decision.
Oh, yeah.
I agree. I
Key
think
one.
to your, if I may, I think to your earlier point, we need to listen
Yeah.
before we're anywhere near in a position. I know just from talking with residents in town, I've heard from several of, I hope they don't take offense to this, but several of what I'll call the old timers in town who have told me that they thought the town functioned better prior to the current form of government. I've heard other people say opposite, so I think we need to gather that data, and that's very important before we decide which path we're going down.
Yeah. I think that's very true. You know, listen to the opinions and then gather the data, I think is the key phrase. Is, you know, where were we under open town meeting versus where are we now? And are we better off?
One thing that, did you want?
No, it's your thing. I just wanted to point out one thing, the process too.
Okay, one thing that, did you want to talk now? One thing that I think, because I've been looking at that question too, for the reasons that it's pretty obvious that at least the more local residents feel that certain things are not working. But one of the things that I think would be interesting to look at is towns of similar size and like Middleborough that are using a different form of government and seeing how they are operating and how it's working for them. I will say that I took a look at Middleborough. It was pretty interesting because one of the things I'm concerned about with open town meeting is inefficiency. And it was interesting to read how they were handling the inefficiency issue. And it also is something that might help our town no matter what form of government it is, because they had some interesting ideas about how to keep, you know, recently there were complaints about lengths of meetings, how to keep those meetings shorter. And so I thought that was pretty interesting. So it might be good to study what other towns are doing and how effective it's been for them as well, so that we can kind of get some insight into how we can have the best of all worlds for Bridgewater's residents.
Thank you.
I was only going to point out, I don't know if you clarified this, but maybe we brushed on it a few times. And it's probably good for everybody to know, but you're making recommendations that would be then passed to the town council. And then the town council has to take those recommendations up and ultimately vote. And I'm not sure, Ed, how it's worked in the past. And I've seen sort of just snippets of it taken here and taken there. So maybe one recommendation's taken to change one piece and another recommendations. So it's really kind of piecemeal when it comes back to the council. But just important for folks to know that you're making the recommendations, it'll ultimately go back to the council, and then piece by piece, I guess it'll be taken up and voted upon. That's the process too.
Well, it's up to the council to really decide how they want to handle them. I mean, at the time when we presented them, we had two councilors. They basically took, I think, about 10 of them and moved forward, but that was it. I mean, we had over 100 recommendations.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of them just sat. I mean, they sat in rules and procedures. It really takes counselors to or put an ordinance behind each of the recommendations.
Right.
You can group them together if you want, or you do them separately. But the process has to be within the council rules and procedures committee to keep that going.
Yes.
And when things stopped in rules and procedures, they never came back and no one questioned it. So I think that's one of the reasons why Johnny put that resolution through.
Right.
So that when we do present them, they get acted upon.
Yes.
In some way. So-
I know I acted upon
You
freedom,
did,
I think
you
my
did.
first
Yes.
month, and I had no idea, but I explained it at a meeting, so.
And always make a motion to pull them back from the committee too.
Right.
I think another thing too would be, I mean, I'm new at this, so I don't know all the forms of government. So I feel like after talking with all the residents and all these different sessions, which I think is great and so important. I mean, I think we need even just a couple of sessions just alone on kind of deep diving into
Yeah.
each form. And so that the residents see where we're coming from and also get the information. Because a lot of them don't know it either, so.
If I may, to Lindsay's point, though, I think that's not only good information for us to understand, but for some of the residents to understand.
Yeah.
I've spoken with in a lot of residents who are not clear on, for example, the role between the town manager and the council. How do they interact with each other? How do they play off of each other? I'm not sure I understand it exactly well enough to explain it very well either, where I know somebody like Ed or Scott could explain it much better. So maybe it's not only maybe it's more of a question and answer session that we're having as part of this, these listening sessions and not solely just listening, right? If residents understand better, it will help inform what they're asking us. It'll help inform what their opinions of things are.
Yeah. I think one of the things we did do, if I remember right, we did some public education forums.
I think that's
And I think we did 3 of them at the beginning to educate people. And then we did more of a data collection form at another point in time. But you're right, absolutely.
I like that.
But I mean, if you think about the way our federal government is set up, we're the same way, except we don't have a judicial branch.
Mhm.
So the town manager is like the president, runs the executive branch. And council is the legislative branch.
Mhm.
Now, in the old form of government, the executive branch was the selectmen and the town administrator. So we had 6 people that were sharing the executive function. We had 5 selectmen and 1 town administrator. And we had town meeting was the legislative branch. So you had all the citizens of Bridgewater acting as the legislative branch. So, I mean, there's a lot that goes into understanding the pros and cons of that. And
Sure.
that was all looked at
Mhm.
15, 20 years ago. We can certainly go back and relook at the same stuff again. Not that today is exactly the same in terms of the issues that we're dealing with,
Mhm.
but a lot of, what really frustrates me a lot sometimes is when people look at an issue in our government and automatically the first thing they do is blame the form of government.
Mhm.
And, I don't know why they do that. I mean, in some cases it might be true, but in other cases it's not true.
Mm.
So,
And to your point, Ed, if I may, I think, like you said, all forms have their pros and cons. And, and I think we talked about this, there's several people around the table now that are, new residents to Bridgewater since all of this was discussed way back when. So re-educating, especially for those folks who, might not have been here at the time, might be helpful as part of, what they provide us.
I found a summary that's pretty good on different forms of government in Massachusetts at a town and city level. If you want, I can share it with this group to start and then we can decide. It came, I think, from the state.
The
So-
only caution with that is we are a committee.
Okay.
And with open meeting law, you can share information with the group. You can't have a deliberation. So if you just send stuff out, hey, this is what I found, and we don't talk about it, we all just go and read it, I think you're fine there. Would you agree with that?
Right.
Yeah, but
Me too, people could talk.
yeah, but if you email the group and I email you, and then he emails, she, once you get to a quorum, now we have violated the open.
Would it make sense then in a case like that for us to have a strategy? Like we wanted to share a document like that. Should we maybe send it through Debbie and ask her to forward it to the group? So that way there is no back and forth there
Yeah.
or anything like that.
That's a good idea.
Right? Something like that might help, you know.
Paul, would you be okay? Because Debbie is the town council.
I'm okay
Whoever it
with
might
if
be.
Brad wants to work that out with her after the meeting, like it's been.
Obviously,
All I was
Debbie's
gonna
okay.
input right now too is when you're talking, just try to speak up because on Zoom, it's very hard to hear folks in this room. So nothing to do with this, but just from experience, so those folks can hear you. If
Good
they're-
to know. Yeah.
Yes. I think it's right in the.
Oh, it's in the-
built in there.
Oh,
Especially the women's voices.
Yeah.
Hey, to that point, maybe
It's coming from
maybe
you.
it's not Debbie in particular, but maybe we just have some sort of strategy, or maybe it's Brad, right? Secretary, yeah, absolutely. So that way it's just always through a certain conduit and it removes any appearance of impropriety that way. Yes,
Good point.
Could I also speak? You could also use BCC when you're sending something out,
Mhm.
and then you
Yeah.
never have to worry about that.
Yeah, use the blind
Yep, the blind copy.
copy.
I really appreciate the push to talk, to get out there and listen to people. I think the giving people the opportunity to just unrestricted by time limit, just kind of come up and voice problems, I think would be great. Maybe even paired with that kind of like 3-slide presentation at the beginning of like, here's how it works today, just to kind of give an overview. And I wonder if we kind of wrap that up after we do those sessions, like listening to the public, I think maybe talking to town employees too, just to figure out how are the workings, like how is the intent maybe not coming through, when it's actually operationalized. And then maybe we do like a readout to the residents, right? Like, hey, these are all the themes we heard. Here are some of the problems that we're thinking of looking at, and kind of maybe do that as a gate first, of listening, distilling themes, figuring out the problems, and then those are the areas we could focus on for different solutions. Because I just want to avoid, I know a lot of residents feel not heard, right? So those opportunities we have to make sure that they feel like they were heard and listened to and we're acting on it.
I agree with that. I like it, and I think it's important, through that, and I know we talked about it here, but it's important that those residents understand what this group can actually do. We're all in the Facebook groups. We've all heard complaints about things that this committee can't actually touch from here, right? And you know that we're going to hear a lot of those complaints when we have open forums for residents to speak, and we don't want them walking away feeling like their particular comment on certain things went unheard or ignored just because we don't have the ability to touch those at this time, right? So informing them further of what our abilities are, I think is important.
What we can do is, as we do those listening sessions, if there are some recurring themes that come up that are outside of the charter, we can still brief the town council and say, because that is part of my plan as chair, is after we do the initial planning and listening and data gathering, to show up at a town council meeting and say, this is where we are, and give the town council an update on our progress. And then say, here are some of the recurring themes. I'm willing to bet one of them is going to be when they speak in public comment, they want answers. There are reasons why that doesn't happen. And it was largely the recommendation of the town attorney at the time. And also because it was a way for groups to hijack the agenda. As you know, if it's not on the agenda, if the agenda has to contain everything the chair reasonably expects to be discussed at the meeting. There were groups in the early days of the charter who would come in at public comment and one after another make the same comment. And then a council member would make a motion to do something about those comments. without ever having that item on the agenda, no materials submitted, no advance notice to the rest of the council. It was a way to bypass that advance notice. So, and that's one of the reasons why that came up. Okay, people would come up and speak. And back then we had what, 6 district councilors and 3 at large,
So,
or 7 and 2. Might have been 7 and 2. So nearly everybody that came up had one district representative who was responsible for it. And they come up and give their name, their address, and if it was my district, okay, I will get you an answer. And in 48 hours, I'd be calling them. Yeah, and I think that's something we've lost with more at-large councilors, because when everybody's responsible for something, nobody takes responsibility. My old saying, no offense.
I'm taking, there any of this.
Yeah. But anyway,
Could I ask a question?
sure.
Because you had mentioned about Facebook and stuff like that. And I'm wondering, do we as a committee need to take a position about ourselves with Facebook?
You probably do. Yeah.
And getting engaged, I mean, as a committee, we're gonna be talking about a lot of different things. And I'm wondering, do we want to start engaging on Facebook and talking about some of the things that we're discussing? Or do we just sort of want to take the position that, you know, we're going to take a step back from that. We're just going to work as a committee and do our thing and take input, obviously, from people through the ways that we determine to do that, whether it's a survey or forums or however we want to do it. But I just see a trap with Facebook, and I want to be cautious about how much we can use that as part of this group.
I tend to agree with you. My opinion on that is, you know, these matters are to be discussed at this table in an open meeting. That anybody who wants to hear our opinions of where we are on this can attend the meeting. They can speak. I think it would be inappropriate for any individual member of this group to be discussing these matters on some form of social media. Because also at that time, you're not representing the group, you're representing your personal opinion at that time. So I agree with you, and if I had a vote, my vote would be that we stay off with that.
Are you making a motion? You want to make a motion?
Is that something I can do?
Sure, absolutely.
Then I make a motion that this body does not discuss matters associated with the charter independently on social media.
Second.
All right, we have a second. Any discussion?
I think we should discuss it. And I understand the reasoning. And I definitely understand the reasoning. But I want to know, and maybe we can answer this question. I mean, because town councilors discuss things with people on social media all the time. So is that something we can legally require of these members?
My first thought went straight to the constitutionality of it. I understand the intent, but each one of us has that First Amendment right. And we're allowed to discuss. I mean, we have to come back in here and face each other and defend our actions. But I'm not one that's in favor of limiting somebody else's right to speak out.
So how does that play into the open meeting? If we can't share emails with one another, then how is it that we can go on Facebook and I can talk about what's going on in this group on Facebook? To me, that's the conflict.
Well, you can put that out if
But I can't respond.
enough of us to make a quorum comment on that post,
Even if
and
we
we go
want to.
back and forth. That's the open meeting law. That's the deliberation. You know, I can go out on the street and scream up and down South Street here what we're doing. But it's just me, you know, and that's what Facebook is it's just one person saying what they want. It's when you get into those comments, same as an email chain, send an email out, and if enough people respond, it's that deliberation piece. You're not allowed to deliberate outside of open meeting.
So why, I guess from my perspective, why even introduce the risk? Because I think you're right. I mean, I think it increases the risk. More of us that get on Facebook and start talking about what's going on in this group. The temptation's going to be there for people to do this. And I just think it opens the door that
I agree with you in practice. I don't think constitutionally we have the authority to limit each other's speech.
Which I agree with. I think, I personally feel that I'm cautious on Facebook for multiple reasons about what I say. And so, and I, but I think we have to kind of trust each other in a way, that everything we're saying in these meetings, they can hear. So anything official from this group, the public is already hearing. How they choose to interpret that is up to them, and personally, I think that I will be cautious about anything having to do with this group and saying anything about this group on Facebook, but I think it's an individual decision because we have the right to speak freely in our country. So, that's just my opinion. And I know it's tempting to want to control it given everything that's gone on in Facebook. But I think we have to just kind of trust each other to try to choose wisely what we choose to say.
Well, if I may, my intention behind the motion, and I don't think it was Ed's either, was to, give anybody a gag order, right? Or to limit anybody's free speech. I do understand, I think Ed and I share the same concern, and I suspect that some of us around the table do. I think we all see each other's points. So I fear that the motion may pass, so I'm going to withdraw the motion, so that way it doesn't somehow step on somebody's constitutional rights if it does. But I will personally commit to the group that I'm not on Facebook or any social media now. I'm going to stay off of it this time period. So, and I hope that we can all, I'm not going to ask everybody to go around the table and say so, but I think that we can all, abide by similar thoughts.
Ed, do you withdraw the second?
I will draw a section.
The one thing I will say about Facebook, if any of us were to use it, we should do it for just votes, just data. First thing, for example, would you rather open town meeting, mayor, or where we're at? Put ABC, get input from that, collect data from that. That's the only thing I could see us even using Facebook for when it comes to this group, in my opinion, is to collect that.
And correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know how all this stuff works, but it wouldn't necessarily have to be, let's say, your individual personal Facebook. Like, we could create a Facebook for this committee for that express purpose if that's something we decided that we wanted to do. Is that right?
We could.
Yes.
My only concern with that is I'm just thinking about like who the deliberations would serve, right? Is if people come to a meeting, they say their address, they come to public forums. I know we probably wouldn't send out a survey, but if you send it to people's street addresses, where they live. My only concern is, do we open ourselves, if we do open it up to social media where you can't verify someone's identity, do we open ourselves up to the risk? Like, should we actually limit, maybe we don't limit how we speak, but should we limit, I don't know if that's making sense. I just think there's a concern that like, Bridgewater Residents Facebook group has like 40 something thousand people. So,
And they all don't live in.
Right. That's the only thing that gives me pause. But I do like the idea though of like, can we find ways to your earlier point, people who can't make it, like Facebook is really accessible, right? It's like really accessible for people. So is there some way we can digitally, but more verified, maybe solicited?
We did an online survey before it was targeted. We didn't open up. I think we created a list of who we thought we wanted to get from. So it worked. Yeah. I guess I would have a problem with each of us just going out and doing our own individual surveys.
Yes.
I mean, how are you going to then, what are you going to do with the data? How are you going to consolidate it? How are you going to correlate it and analyze it? And to me, if we're going to do a survey, we do it as a group.
Yeah.
We don't do it individually.
I think last time around, we had someone who had a lot of experience doing surveys, and they were able to put that together.
IT does them.
I think, you know,
Is that a resource that's available to us? Should we need it? Yeah.
yeah, no, I think that would be great if we can find a way. Maybe come back at the next meeting. Does anybody here have any experience crafting research surveys or anything like that?
With some like, customer user research.
That people are our customers.
Yeah, there you go.
You know, that's government is a customer service.
So anything that we want to disseminate to the group, we're going to send to Brad. And Brad's going to be the focal point to discuss.
So we need,
So I can-
how to communicate with Brad.
Because email.
Yeah.
It's on the,
Oh, it's actually in the folder.
Inside the hut.
so I mean, I've got a bunch of stuff. I can send you the survey that we did. I can send you the stuff from why we recommended the form of government. I can send you a whole bunch of stuff, and then it's just the reading material for the whole group to start looking at.
And I can send you that one thing I talked about,
Yeah, well,
the little summary and. forms of government.
You know, my opinion, and I think we're still on D next steps, but maybe, I think, to me, the most appropriate next step at this point, step one, is for us to all review all of that data. Read through the charter word for word, get as familiar as we can with all this stuff before we get back around this table. Because we'll obviously all be in a better position to have an intelligent conversation about it.
Yes, everybody's having a hard time sleeping.
If I remember right, on our plan that we developed, June, July, and August was all data.
Yeah.
And it was all from a different variety of sources and, all that stuff. So, yeah.
And that actually brought up I know I want to listen to the people before we do directionally, but I do wonder with a plan, like, was it helpful knowing that we just have a year? Was it helpful to kind of like set milestones of like, this is when because that's the one thing I feel like I love to read and do this stuff, right? So I could end up like at 8 months go by and we don't, we don't write anything.
Yeah, what we did last time is we broke it up. I think it was 2 chapters per person, something like that. Where 2 people each got 2 chapters, and we would review those 2 chapters every month. We had
Twice a month.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think we initially planned once a month, and then we went, we need twice a month. But yeah, we would cover those 2 chapters in that given month. And then we moved all the way through from beginning to end, everything from punctuation and spelling to substantive changes.
I'm not going to be a punctuation guy. I just want to say that. I put commas all over the place.
That's what AI is for. But yeah, that worked very well because we knew exactly what chapters we were looking at. There's a couple of chapters, I think we did one chapter, it took the whole month because they're just significantly larger than the others. Like chapter 1 is, like we did that in half a meeting.
I think it was the finance chapter.
But yeah, the finance chapter takes a long time.
I would say that I agree with you with milestones. I think that's probably what we end up doing as part of maybe the next meeting. And then we kind of map out what the year is going to look like. And then we kind of go from there and breaking things at the end of the plan.
I like that too, because, for example, if we spend June, July, August on research, it's a shut off date, right? People always are often, come December, I talked to this guy and I got this information. I want to add this back into the equation. No, we're past that now. Like we're staying on task. I think that I like that idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. So looking at the calendar, we are meeting, it's June 4th today. It's the first Thursday of the month. Does that generally work for everybody? First Thursday of the month at 7? No.
Sorry. I came tonight, I had to miss another meeting to do it. I would just request a different day.
Thursdays are no good in general.
Well, they're okay for the summer, but after the summer, they're direct conflict with something important.
Or what about Wednesdays?
Wednesday is better for me. What about the rest of the group?
Fine with that.
I'm fine with Wednesday.
Everybody?
Do we also only want to meet once?
Only for the summer for me, but Wednesdays in September, I start having mornings.
Mondays.
Mondays,
Tuesday's better.
Well, Tuesday's the.
Tuesdays.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Mondays are rough for me.
Oh, okay.
Tuesdays are mean, we could do Tuesdays
Just
while they're
offset.
doing theirs. We could be in here.
No,
No.
some of us need to attend the other one.
And is that unfair to residents who wanna
Yeah.
be able to chime in on both?
What if we
Unless
do
do
every
it
other,
early.
like,
We
go
could
off?
offset
Yeah.
You know, if you want to do, I do Wednesdays, I can juggle my schedule. If you're gonna do every other, then I'll just make my meeting on the other, you know.
We
Pick
could
it off
do,
that.
We can always just set the summer ones right now, then.
Yeah.
Last summer one, we set fall ones, and then fall, we set winter ones. I don't know,
Yeah.
I'm asking Kate.
I think we can, right? Because if we get to the end of the summer and we find that Wednesdays are not working out great for everybody, maybe we'll adjust at that point anyway.
do you want to do the first Wednesday of the month and the third Thursday? So that way it's a Wednesday,
I
Thursday.
don't know if she
If it's only for the
Can't do
summer,
this. Only
because
for,
I can't do it.
Just do the Wednesdays.
just do the
Every
Wednesday,
other Wednesday start, what, the first and third Wednesday of every month?
first and third Wednesday of every month.
Can I ask a question of Ed and Scott? You were the two that were on the charter review committee last time. How, on average, how long are these meetings? Are you going well into the wee hours of the night, or are we?
It's usually 7 to 9.
Yeah.
Hours.
Yeah.
You know,
I was just thinking it's, because you mentioned at some point you realized you needed more meetings. I didn't know if they were getting longer. Maybe it made sense for us to bump it up to 6 to give us more time or something.
Yeah, see, you know, so at the time we did it, we were in COVID, so we didn't, all of our meetings were Zoom, and we didn't have any public input during those meetings. It was just our group.
We did have some public show. You know, really? Yeah, we have some folks.
Yes, how flexible are we with this schedule? I mean, do you just have to give residents, what, 2 weeks notice?
Yeah, it's close.
Is it 2 weeks or is it just
2
48
days.
hours?
2 days.
2
Yeah.
days notice.
Yeah.
Okay. So we can always.
Yeah.
Should we, first and third Wednesday of the planning board, right? Should we offset
Be second and fourth.
Are they at 7 too?
6:30?
And those meetings can run long, depending on what's
So
on the
should we do
agenda.
second and fourth week then?
Or
Yeah.
Yeah, do second and fourth, the
That's not
second and
fun,
fourth
is it?
Wednesday.
what's that?
That's not conservation, is it? Wait, just do
Oh.
it.
If you look for it, you'll find it.
Yeah, that's the hard part is finding a room.
Saturdays at 7 a.m. No,
Yeah.
I mean,
So right now,
Second and
we're,
fourth.
Second and fourth.
so you want to
Wednesday.
come back next week on the 10th?
I can't. All right.
I actually will be away on the 10th.
So will I.
Yeah.
For this month, should we just do this first and then the fourth?
And
Yeah,
then
the 24th.
And that'll hopefully give us, that should give us all plenty
Give
of
us time
time
to
to
read.
review everything
Yeah.
before we get back around the table too.
That's a good idea.
So we're looking at the 24th, then July 8th, July 22nd.
Oh, my birthday, I'll be here.
Nice.
happy birthday.
Who's gonna send this out?
Who's bringing the cake?
Well,
Yeah. Right there with you, buddy.
All right, so we're looking June 24th. And then July 8th. July 22nd. And then August 12th. And August 26th.
So what happens if we can't attend? So
Can't attend, I mean, there are going to be meetings where I can't attend and as long as we have a quorum.
just
Is
need
it
4 of us.
4?
And full for the world.
And how do we inform everybody?
Should be Brad, Brad.
Yeah,
Through Brad.
yeah, just send an email, Brad.
Okay.
Hey, I'm not gonna be there.
And you're gonna put the agenda together.
Yeah.
Send it to Brad, so it's posted on time.
And it has to be posted 2 days before the meeting.
48 hours.
48 hours, I think.
And if
And-
we have recommended agenda items, we just email Brett.
To Brad.
Well, he controls
maybe
the
it's Scott,
agenda.
yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna go to Scott.
So we email you directly?
Yeah, if there's something you want to discuss. My philosophy on that is the original town charter rule interpretation that the council president sets the agenda, but any individual council member can submit anything they want. And the president doesn't get to say, no, that's not coming up. There's actually, if you read the charter, it's in there. It says any council member may submit anything they want for to be discussed. I'm summarizing. So that gets into that interpretation again, the special rule versus general rule. But we have our dates. Like
7 o'clock.
Yep, 7 o'clock, all of those nights. Does that work for everybody?
Yeah.
Would the first one work if, that's the one that's the only one I came to in person? Do we have
You can
hybrid
Zoom-
capability?
you can Zoom,
Great,
yeah.
okay.
I don't know. We're gonna try and reserve this room for all the states.
Yes.
Especially I don't know how the Zoom will work either.
Gonna do
With
that.
Debbie.
I'm interested in laptop.
With Deborah. Yeah, we can run it, right? Yeah, we can run it.
Yeah.
I'll have to learn how to run that. but I should do that.
I actually know how to run that one. I can help you out on that. Have more
Me and Debbie
meetings than
go
I know
back
what
to
to do
it.
with.
You can show me the ropes.
Way more Zoom meetings than I'd like
All
to.
right, so I think we've got our next steps. Does anybody have anything else for our next steps, next meeting dates is covered?
Just to confirm, our homework is to make sure everyone reads the charter before the 24th again.
Yep.
Charter and other
Email.
documents that may be circulated.
sent.
Yeah.
Everybody? Anybody have anything else for the group?
No,
Oh, I have one thing that I am supposed to disclose that I did completely forget about until the end of this. So I mentioned earlier in the introductions that I was the engineer of record on the Union Fire Department. They went in on Pleasant Street. At the time that I applied to be a member of the charter committee, I thought the project was finished. And as it turns out, I got a call to be on site this morning, actually, for a very small warranty issue that's going on out there. I don't think it's a conflict in any way. It's gonna take me an hour or two. I just want to disclose it so that way to the group. I actually spoke with Debbie earlier. She ran it up the chain to town council just to make sure we're covered. And we'll circle back on that. And I may even reach out to the ethics committee, the state ethics committee, just to make sure it's bulletproof. But I wanted to disclose it so that way, you know, especially for the public appearances, nobody says, what are you doing here? That's all it is, yeah.
Safest bet is to just contact the state ethics attorney
Get a determination.
and have them write a letter.
Yep.
Just do what the letter says.
And I want to thank you all for completing your ethics training.
If some of us did it last minute.
You did.
It's actually what caused me to realize, like, oh, that might be talking about me. I should probably tell somebody about that.
All right,
Motion to adjourn.
yeah, motion to adjourn. Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.